You are sitting in a meeting. Someone across the table yawns. You feel it coming before you understand why. Your jaw tightens. Your eyes water. You try to stop it. You lose. You probably think this is about being tired. It is not. The real answer is far stranger, and it has almost nothing to do with sleep. Your body just did something that predates language, predates fire, and predates the idea of a meeting room entirely. It synced itself to another person without asking your permission. No thought was involved, no choice. Something older took over. What is actually happening when you catch a yawn? In the 1980s, a psychologist named Robert Provine started paying close attention to something most scientists had ignored: yawning. He found that people who simply watched a video of someone yawning would yawn themselves nearly half the time. Not because they were tired, not because the room was warm, just because they saw it happen. Provine pushed further. He found that reading the word yawn was enough. Thinking about yawning was enough. You do not even need your eyes for this. Your brain will do it from a sentence on a page. Right now, are you fighting one off? That reaction is not random. It is not a glitch in your nervous system. It is a signal passing between two brains, using a channel that evolution built long before either of you learned to speak. Most people assume contagious yawning is a quirk, a small accident the brain picked up along the way. It is not. It shows up too consistently, across too many species, using too much dedicated brain activity to be an accident. Something this stubborn was kept around because it did real work. So what work could a yawn possibly be doing? For most of human history, survival depended on a group, not an individual. A lone human on the savannah 2 million years ago was prey. A group of humans, alert at the same time, was something else entirely. And here is the strange part. Staying alert together is harder than it sounds, because attention does not stay level. It rises and falls, drifts and sharpens, all day long. No single person can hold full alertness for 12 straight hours. Attention is expensive, it costs energy, and energy was never guaranteed. So a body has to manage it the same way it manages hunger or body temperature, constantly adjusting, constantly drifting toward rest, and then snapping back. A group needs a way to reset itself, together, at the same moment. This is where the brain cooling theory comes in. A researcher named Andrew Gallup spent years studying yawning not as a sign of sleepiness, but as a built-in thermostat. When you yawn, you pull in a large breath of cooler air. Blood flow to your skull increases. Your brain's temperature drops slightly, and your alertness rises right after. Gallup's studies found that yawning happens more often when brain temperature creeps up, and less often when the surrounding air is already cold. You are not signaling exhaustion when you yawn. You are recalibrating. Now picture an early human group at rest. Vigilance has been dropping for an hour. One member's brain temperature ticks upward. They yawn. Their alertness resets. And then, through some ancient wiring nobody designed on purpose, the people closest to them yawn too. In one motion, an entire group resets its attention at the same time. That is not a coincidence of biology. That is a survival tool disguised as a small, involuntary twitch of the jaw. But there is something even stranger buried inside this. Contagious yawning is not evenly distributed. You do not catch it equally from everyone around you. Researchers studying contagious yawning found a pattern that should surprise you. People are far more likely to catch a yawn from a close family member than from a stranger. Friends rank above acquaintances. Acquaintances rank above people you have never met. The closer the emotional bond, the more powerful the contagion. This is not a small effect, and it is not subtle. In studies where people watched yawns from strangers, friends, and family members under the same conditions, the gap in contagion held up again and again. The yawn itself looked identical on screen. The reaction in the viewer did not. Why would empathy, of all things, control a reflex in your jaw? A researcher named Atsushi Senju looked at this question from another angle entirely. He studied children with autism spectrum conditions and found something the brain cooling theory alone could not explain. These children yawned just as often as anyone else when they were tired, but they were far less likely to catch a yawn from watching someone else do it. Senju tracked where children were looking while they watched videos of people yawning. Children who spent less time looking at the eyes of the person yawning were less likely to catch the yawn themselves. The eyes mattered. Attention to another person's face mattered. This was not about the mouth or the jaw at all. The mechanism for yawning itself was intact. The contagion was not. Senju's research pointed towards something deeper than temperature regulation. Contagious yawning appeared to be tied to the same brain circuits responsible for reading other people's internal states. Mirror neurons. Theory of mind. The unconscious machinery that lets you sense what someone else is feeling without being told. In other words, when you catch someone's yawn, some part of your brain has already modeled their fatigue as if it were your own. This reframes the entire act. A yawn is not just a private signal about your own body, it is a quiet broadcast, and people who are bonded to you are built to receive it. Think about the last time you yawned in a room full of strangers versus a room full of people you love. Did one spread faster than the other? Now stretch this back across deep time again. A group of early humans was not just a collection of bodies sharing space, it was a network of bonded individuals, tracking each other's states constantly, often without realizing it. Fatigue spreading through a group was not a flaw, it was information. If the most experienced hunter in the group started drifting toward rest, that mattered to everyone nearby. Yawning became a silent vote. A signal passed sleeper to sleeper, watcher to watcher, without a single word spoken. Even more telling, contagious yawning is not unique to humans. Researchers have documented it in chimpanzees, who yawn in response to watching other chimpanzees do it on video, the same way humans do. It has been observed in dogs, who will yawn after watching their own human yawn. Wolves in tighter social bonds catch each other's yawns more readily than wolves with weaker ties inside the same pack. Even budgerigars, small social parrots that live in tight flocks, show signs of contagious yawning when housed near one another. The pattern keeps surfacing in any species that depends on a group for safety and keeps failing to surface in solitary species that never needed to sync attention with anyone. This is not a human eccentricity. This is something stitched into social mammals generally, wherever a group's survival depends on shared awareness. Which means the urge you feel in that meeting room is not modern at all. It is a fossil, still running, inside your nervous system. There is one more twist worth sitting with. Some researchers have proposed that excessive yawning, the kind that happens in clusters with no clear cause, may be the brain's way of managing stress and arousal rather than sleepiness alone. Athletes yawn before competition. Performers yawn in the wings before walking on stage. None of them are tired. Their brains may be using the same cooling, resetting mechanism to prepare for a sudden spike in demand. A sprinter crouched at the starting blocks is not winding down. Every system in their body is winding up. And yet, in the seconds before the gun fires, a yawn is one of the most commonly reported sensations among elite athletes. The same reflex that resets a drowsy brain also appears to prime an overstimulated one, smoothing the transition into whatever comes next. A yawn before a sprint is not laziness. It is preparation disguised as fatigue. This single reflex, then, is doing far more work than anyone gives it credit for. It cools an overheating brain. It resets fading attention. It announces your internal state to anyone bonded closely enough to notice. And depending on the moment, it can mean exhaustion, or it can mean the exact opposite, a body bracing itself for something demanding. Think about what a sleeping group of early humans actually needed to survive the night. Someone had to stay semi-alert while others rested. Someone had to notice the shift from light dozing into deep sleep across the group, because a group that all dropped into deep sleep at the same moment was a group with no one listening for danger. Yawning, drifting in waves through a resting group may have helped stagger that transition. Watch a group of toddlers at nap time in any preschool classroom. One child yawns. Within minutes, several others are rubbing their eyes and yawning in turn, even children who showed no sign of tiredness moments earlier. Teachers have noticed this for as long as preschools have existed, long before anyone studied it formally. The contagion spreads fastest through the children sitting closest to their friends, slowest through children seated near someone they barely know. The same pattern, the same bias toward closeness, showing up in a 4-year-old's nap room as in a brain imaging lab. There is also a developmental piece worth noting. Susceptibility to contagious yawning is not present at birth. Infants yawn constantly, but they do not catch yawns from the people around them. The contagious version of the reflex appears to come online somewhere around age 4 or 5, the same general window in which children begin developing a robust theory of mind, the ability to model what another person is thinking or feeling. The reflex waits for the social wiring to catch up before it starts firing. That timing alone is a clue too easy to ignore. A reflex that switches on exactly when empathy switches on is not a coincidence built from spare parts. It is a feature that depends on empathy to function at all. So return to that meeting room. The yawn that crossed the table toward you was never really about tiredness at all. It was a brain, regulating its own temperature, broadcasting its internal state to anyone close enough and bonded enough to receive it. And your brain, without asking you, decided you were close enough. You did not lose a battle against tiredness in that moment. You answered a signal that has been passing between humans since long before any of you had a language to explain it. The next time you feel a yawn rising because someone near you yawned first, you will not just be tired, you will be doing something your ancestors did around fires, in caves, on open grassland, long before any of this had a name. You will be syncing, quietly, with the people your brain has already decided are yours.